Hello and welcome to everyone, and thank you for being with us one more time on this long journey that has been a journey of 8 months for those of you who have been a part of this training program from the very beginning. And I am pleased to have this chance to be with you all one more time, at least as part of this program in order for us to share our feedback and our reflections from the experience that we have had together starting in January and culminating in last week's series of the JCoR SDG Lab. So as usual, we will begin our session today with a brief prayer. Holy Spirit, we welcome you. We know that you are the counselor of truth, our help in need, and the one who fills us with the Spirit of God. You so graciously work to intercede for us to the Creator and to comfort us with your peace that goes beyond all understanding. Come, Holy Spirit. Today we ask for godly counsel and direction. Help us to search our hearts, to name the precious fruits of our journey thus far, and to discern our next steps. We seek to feel your work in our own hearts and minds. Holy Spirit, please come. So, as I suggested in my very first words to you today, we have a few different ways that we will use this time to reflect and to debrief on the experience that we have been sharing together since January. So first, we will sort of recap that experience. We will recall and reflect on all of the parts of our journey thus far in preparation for the high-level political forum on sustainable development. Then we will have time to share some of the key lessons or ideas that we are taking away from this experience. We will exchange any intentions that we may have to take action as a way of following up on what we have learned or the work we have already done as part of this program. And then I will also share with you some next steps, some specific ways that you are all invited to stay connected with JCoR and to continue to connect your work to the work that we are doing as a community at the level of the United Nations. So the first step will be recalling our journey thus far, both up to and through the high-level political forum. So sit back and go with me on a journey backward, starting in January of this year. It was in January that we had our first session together. And in that session, we introduced the Justice Coalition of Religious. We introduced the Sustainable Development Goals. And we first discussed the overall role of religious congregations in the United Nations system and in the SDGs. Then we met again in February. And at that time, we introduced more specifically this forum that we were preparing for, the High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development. We also introduced the voluntary national reviews, and we started to introduce the very specific concrete pathways that are available to us as members of civil society to be active participants in this process of voluntary national review and then reporting to the high-level political forum. Between the months of February and April, we had calls for each of our regional groups within this delegation so that you could have the chance to meet other delegates from your region of the world and to learn about their ministries. We also invited you to participate independently and virtually in the Regional Forum on Sustainable Development, which happened in each region of the world between February and April. Then we met again in late March to check in on the progress we were making toward joining the teams that would craft and deliver a response from civil society to the presentations of government during the forum itself. And you may recall those were called VNR teams. And we also talked about how we were doing, trying to communicate or connect with the national networks of civil society that are monitoring progress toward the SDGs in each of our countries. And in March, we also started to talk about how to locate and reflect on any national SDG progress reports that had been submitted by our own country's civil society to previous sessions of the forum. Then we gathered again in the month of May, and we shared reflections on our experiences of the regional fora for sustainable development. We talked about where to find the voluntary national review reports that were being published by each of our national governments, as well as where to find the reports that have been submitted by networks of civil society from our countries. We discussed some guiding questions that could help us to reflect on and to critique the VNR reports from our governments. And we started to talk in more detail about the schedule and the design of our own JCoR SDG lab. Then we met again in June. See, it really is a long journey that we have been on together. We can only appreciate it when we go back through the outline of it all. In the month of June, we had one final meeting before the forum in which we talked about the logistics of how to engage, how to participate in the forum, whether you were in New York in person or whether you were participating virtually. And we also made some final preparations and shared some final guidance for how to participate in the JCoR SDG lab. And then after all that, finally, it was time for the forum, which happened very early in the month of July. And for those who were in New York, we had a gathering to provide a welcome and orientation to all those who had come for the forum in person. And in that gathering, we grounded or provided firm footing and foundation for ourselves by discussing true definitions of both sustainability and development. Then throughout that week, we also had a handful, several sessions for reflection and debriefing of our experiences of each day. And there were also several events that were sponsored by JCoR and the member organizations that JCoR comprises. You can see some of the flyers for those events on the screen here. They included one that was specifically showcasing the voices of youth. And then on the opposite end of things, showcasing the voices of older women who had much experience to share. Then we also had an event on communities of hope, which was showcasing the role of faith leaders toward achieving the Sustainable Development Goals in a way that was inclusive and just. And we had an event that was dedicated to the phenomenon of homelessness and how it relates to each of the SDGs that were a theme or a priority for this year's forum. So here I just wanted to share, since most of us are not able to be in New York for the forum, I just wanted to give a few images from those in-person gatherings to give you a sense of the space and the group that was able to come together. So this was the day of our gathering for welcome and orientation. And this was from one of our sessions for reflection and debriefing at the end of the day. And so this photo is actually in the office of JCoR for those who have never had the chance to visit us. There we are in the midst of a prayer that we use to open each of those debriefings. And as you can see on the left, we had a different SDG as our theme for the prayer each day that we had a debriefing. And then, of course, we had our series of the SDG Lab. And I do want to take a moment to really acknowledge and to congratulate and to offer sincere gratitude to each of you who participated in these labs as speakers. You all had wonderful stories to tell, important insights to share, inspiring projects that were on display as a model for others to follow. And all of these are such important parts of the story that we can tell and the message that we are able to deliver in our work at the level of the United Nations. And it is so important that we who are in New York and who have regular access to the representatives of governments, it is so important that we are able to hear from you and to learn from you. And these labs were really a magnificent opportunity for that learning. And I hope that in addition to you informing all of those who are working with governments regularly, I hope that you also felt a sense of edification and perhaps even a sense of hope in hearing from one another and learning from one another in this way that I feel helps us to identify patterns across regions, across countries that may not appear to be very similar in some ways. But when we discuss matters of development in a forum like this, I think it is a powerful way to help us see the commonalities, the common struggles, and the common strengths, the common solutions that are available to us. And so I'm extremely grateful to every one of you who took the great time and effort to prepare a presentation and then to do everything in your power to have a good internet connection, to be able to be with us during these sessions, and to lend your voice, lend your wisdom into this space for learning in our community. And I do also want to thank all of you who were there as students, as listeners, because, of course, the larger our community, the more effective that learning can be, and the more effectively we will hold and carry forward the lessons that we can learn from one another. So, with all of those thanks, with that gratitude on the table, I do want to acknowledge individually each person who did make this extraordinary effort to act as a presenter, to act as a voice in our labs. So I will just be reading off the names to recall in gratitude the work that each of you have done for these labs. So we'll go in chronological order through the week. So for our lab on goal number 6, which is clean water and sanitation, we offer our gratitude to Ferdinand Manley, the Congregations of St. Joseph of Norway, to Sanu Su Salome de Media, a partner with the Claretian Missionaries in Burkina Faso, Sister Miriam Ngole, a Dominican missionary sister of the Sacred Heart of Jesus in Zambia, Father Yameogo Sibi Basil, a Claretian missionary in Burkina Faso, and Sister Ana Helena Andreao, a religious of the Sacred Heart of Mary in Brazil. And for those of you who have access to reaction buttons If you want to offer a reaction of applause or cheer for any of these groups as we proceed through the lists, please feel free to use those reaction buttons to express your mutual gratitude to them. Then in our session on goal number 7, affordable and clean energy, we offer our gratitude to Father Alphonse Marie Ekra Komenan, a Claretian missionary in Burkina Faso, to Sister Margaret Morilli, a member of the Society of the Sacred Heart, speaking to us about Kenya, though she is now at the UN in the United States. Brother Danilo D'Ambrose Soprani, a Claretian missionary in Brazil. And Father Jean-Narcisse Sekre Kwame Adjumani, a Claretian missionary in Burkina Faso. For their work in our session on goal number 9, which relates to industry, innovation, and infrastructure, we offer our profound gratitude to Helga Haas-Manley, a lay associate with the Congregations of St. Joseph in Norway, Sister Donatus Lilly, member of the Congregation of Our Lady of Charity of the Good Shepherd, who spoke to us about the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Annika Banerjee, a partner with the Institute of the Blessed Virgin Mary, Loreto Generalit, who spoke to us about Australia, Father Gilbert Kissou, a Claretian missionary in Burkina Faso. We thank you all. For their contribution to our session on goal number 11, which relates to sustainable cities and communities. We offer our gratitude to Father Anthony Prakash Lohale, a Dominican friar and a delegate of the Institute of the Blessed Virgin Mary, Loreto Generalit, who spoke to us about Canada. We thank Brother Joel Gaspar Beltram, a Claretian missionary in Brazil, and Sister Rosemary Mwagarazano, a religious of the Sacred Heart of Mary in Zimbabwe. And finally, yet of equal importance, we offer our gratitude to those who contributed to the session on goal number 17, which relates to resources and partnerships to support all of the Sustainable Development Goals. And these members were Maria Jose Llamosas Alfonso, a partner with the Salesian Missions in Paraguay, Josephine Sebogo, a partner with the Claretian Missionaries in Burkina Faso, Sister Joan Peichel, a member of the School Sisters of Notre Dame, who spoke to us about Brazil, and Leonila Wapi, a delegate of the Grail, who spoke, or rather, who offered us her insights and comments about Papua New Guinea. So once again, I invite you all to use your reaction buttons if you wish to give one final round of applause and celebration of all of these members of our delegation who made this extraordinary contribution to our collective journey this year. Thank you all very much for offering your time and your gifts and your wisdom to help us all to better understand our world and the work that we have to do together. And now I will move on to what will be a task for which we will take a few minutes independently, which is to complete a program evaluation form, which is a very helpful task for us as we organize this program for other delegates who will participate next year and beyond. It is very helpful for us to understand how effective this program has been this year and what aspects of the program you found most helpful, as well as any aspect or detail of the program that you think we could possibly improve for future delegations. So I'm going to put this link into our chat box in a moment. And I will ask all of you, if you can, to just open that link and at least begin to work on filling out that form. And I will also show it on the screen just to go over the parts and help to clarify any confusion or question that you may have as you look at the form. Okay, the link is now in the chat box. So you can open your chat to find it there. I will also open it on my screen just to briefly walk through the parts. So I want to point out, as you can see here, we do have one form that has all of the text in all 4 languages. So it is the same link for everybody, regardless of which language you prefer to use. But you just need to find your preferred language. You will find it throughout the form. And so in the beginning, we are simply asking for identifying information about you. Then on the second page, you will see this instruction at the top, which says, during the course of the training program from JCoR, from January through August, and then there are a series of questions that follow. And for each one, you are simply asked to say yes or no. This is just questions about the different ways that you may have participated or engaged in the preparatory process for the HLPF. And so it's no problem whether your answer is yes or no. We just want to know which ways each of you participated. So we have a series of questions in that regard, different activities that you might have undertaken or not. And then there is a question asking which section of the report from your own government was your area of focus or priority when you reviewed the report from your own government. Then the third little page of the evaluation is sort of your evaluation of the program itself. So we are trying to get a sense of the way that your participation in this program may have affected your motivation or your confidence or your connection to others in a way that is helpful to your ability to participate in the work of changing systems or discussing the structures and policies that affect our experience of development or our experience of lack of development. So I will give one example so I don't belabor the point or read through the entire form. But there are a series of questions here. And for each one, you are simply asked to select a number on a scale from 1 to 5. So you do not need to write sentences or long, complicated answers, only to select one of these numbers, 1 through 5, to indicate the extent to which you agree or disagree. So, for example, the first question is, did the JCoR program increase your sense of the relationship between your own personal ministry and the systems of our world, the global social system, economic system, political system? So the question is, did the program increase your sense of the relationship or the connection between your personal ministry and those global systems? And so if you felt that it did not do that at all, if you strongly disagree, then you would pick number 1 as your answer for this question. If you felt, oh yes, it was a big increase in my sense of this relationship, then you would pick number 5 for strong agreement. And then if you feel kind of very in the middle, very neutral of, well, I'm not sure it just kind of stayed the same, then you might pick number 3, which is the very middle option. So it's the same kind of response for each of the questions on this page. Whatever the question is, if you want to give a very strong, emphatic yes to the question, then you pick number 5. And if you want to give a strong, emphatic no to the question, then you would pick number 1. And if you feel completely neutral, you will pick number 3. So that scale of 1 to 5 kind of gives you your options of how strongly you want to agree or disagree. How strong is your yes? How strong is your no? So there are several questions there that all use that same scale. And so all you need to do for each one is to simply select a number 1 through 5. in which 5 is a very strong yes, 1 is a very strong no. And then there is a piece at the end where you are invited, if you wish, to say more. If there are specific details, specific aspects of the program that were very helpful to you, we would like to know what those aspects were so that we can be sure to preserve them for future programs. And on the other side of things, if there were any areas in which you feel we could improve the support that we offered to you, we would also like to know about that. And then finally, an open and optional space. If there is anything else you want to say at all, any comment of any kind, there is a space for that as well. And that is completely optional. So if you have nothing else to say, you can just leave it blank. But we did want to provide an option, provide the space for you to say anything that we did not explicitly invite through the questions in the form already. So I am going to pause for, I'm going to say about 5 minutes, maybe even a little more, and just offer you all some time to work on this form. And we will come back together after 5 or 6 minutes. And in the meantime, if you have any question that you want to ask, if you are encountering a challenge with the form, you can type your question into the chat, or if you're not able to get access to the chat, just hold on to your question and I will answer it via conversation when we come back together. But I do want to give several minutes of quiet for those who are here to at least begin working on this form, and then we can discuss any problems with it when we come back together. So now I will give you all about 6 minutes of peace and quiet. And if you have already completed the form, thank you very much. And you now have a few minutes just to have a break or find yourself a cup of coffee or tea, a glass of water, and we will come together again in 6 minutes. Okay. If you are still working on the form, that is okay. You can keep it open as long as you want. But I did want to offer an opportunity, other than the question that was already raised in the chat box. Were there any other problems encountered or questions that anyone needed to ask about the form, the evaluation form? Okay, do not see any hands or hear any voices. So that form will remain open for at least a week. So if for any reason you are having trouble with your connection today, or you want to spend more time thinking before you complete your answers, you do not need to rush. You can come back to it. But of course, these kinds of things are often easier to just finish in the moment because they are very easy to forget when we go back to our other important tasks of the day. So I did want to give time for all of us to complete it quickly if that is the approach that we prefer. And I will also circulate this link again in an email that will follow this call today. And I will also circulate it in our WhatsApp group for this delegation. So you will have two different ways to access it again. If for any reason you're not able to complete it right now, or if you lose your form, if something happens with your internet before, we finish, you will have other ways to open the form again. But we do very much appreciate you taking the time to submit it, as it helps us very much to report on our work to those entities that provide us with funding that make this program available. And of course, it also helps us to learn from our experiences and to improve the support that we offer in the future. So now moving right along to the more fun part of our call today is another invitation to you all to reflect out loud, to reflect in sharing and in dialogue about your experience. And so to begin this portion of our meeting today, I will again offer you several minutes of peace and quiet in order to formulate your thoughts that you might like to share with the rest of the group. And so these are the different areas that I want to invite you to reflect upon in our exchange, in our interaction today. So the first is about lessons and insights. Are there any important lessons or insights that you feel you gained through your participation in this training program and in the SDG lab? And if so, what was the most important lesson or insight? A second question is, what questions do you have now? As you are emerging from this experience of the lab and the forum, what new questions are emerging for you? Third area for reflection is how would you like to build upon this experience? And what do I mean by build? Well, another way of expressing this question would be, is there some specific action that you would like to take in order to share the lessons and insights that you have gained here? And if so, with whom would you like to share those lessons and insights? Or is there some action you would like to take to continue monitoring progress toward the SDGs in your country or in your community? And if you would like to, with whom will you do that? Or another way you might think of building upon this experience would be to think about how to integrate advocacy, which is to say, work to promote structural justice. How would you like to integrate that work into the ministries that you are already doing? Or maybe it is something else entirely. Maybe there's a different kind of action that you might like to take to build upon this experience. And then a final area for reflection would be, I know we invited this in the written form, but sometimes it is easier to express these things via voice, via speaking. So we do also want to invite if there is anything that you would like to suggest about how we could improve our training program or the SDG lab for future delegates. We would love to hear your reflections in that regard. So we have 4 areas for reflection, and I want to give good time for you to at least reflect in 1 or 2 of them. Maybe all 4 is too much to ask in a short time, but whichever perhaps maybe 2 areas that are most interesting to you, that are calling your attention. I want to give us about 10 minutes of quiet to reflect in these areas, and then we will come back together and hear from one another. I will invite you to share your reflections with the group. And I do have these questions in all 4 languages. So during our 10 minutes of quiet, I will just be rotating which language appears on the screen. So if you do not see your own preferred language at one moment, just wait and your language will appear again soon. Okay, so we will take 10 minutes starting now, and I invite you into a reflection in these 4 areas. I see one hand already. I'm not sure if it's a question or a first reflection to share. So either way, we will go first to Nicole. Please go ahead, Nicole.
Hi, thank you so much. Yeah, it is the answers of the
Oh,
questions.
great, great. Okay, wonderful.
For the first one, for
Mm-hmm.
me, the most important lesson I gained in that young people are not just like the future. We already important contributors to sustainable development, to the JCoR training and the HLPF. I realized that advocacy becomes much more impactful when it's rooted in local realities and connected
Mm.
to global conversations. Coming from Mexico and working with the Society of the Sacred Heart, I saw how the experiences for of young people in our communities can help shape international discussions and inspire meaningful action. Yeah, so that one is for like the first one. The second was, what was the second question? I forgot. The merge? Yeah, right? Emerge from the experience of the young
Yes.
people.
So, yeah, questions that you have now as you are emerging. New
Oh yeah,
questions.
yeah. You're right. Yeah, sorry. I forgot. One question I continue to reflect on is how can we ensure that the voices of young people, especially those from developing countries and grassroots communities, continue to influence decision making after the high level political forum ends? I also wonder how we can strengthen collaboration between faith based organizations, youth movement, and policymakers so that the global commitments translate into real change at the local level. Yeah, should I continue with question three? Okay. So,
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
okay, that was how. Okay. For that one, I would like to share what I learned with young people, especially like in the
Mm.
Mexico through the workshops and social media in my youth ministry that I have that is Wrong with Christ.
Mm.
I hope to help more young people understand the sustainable development goals and encourage them to see that they can make a difference in their own communities. I also want to continue working, obviously, with the side of Sacred Heart to connect faith, education, advocacy, empowering young youth to become leaders who promote human dignity, peace, and of course, a sustainable development. For the fourth question, that was how can we improve our JCoR training program? Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, for that one, I will recommend including more opportunities for practical learning, such as advocacy simulations, networking workshops, and mentorship from former delegates. It will also be valuable to provide additional support for participants like from countries like Mexico, where financial and logistical barriers can make international participation more difficult. And finally, like creating a stronger alumni network, I think that would help delegates stay connected, collaborate on projects, and continue supporting one another long after the HLPF concludes. So, yeah, that's all like my suggestions. Thank you. And I really, really, really enjoy it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Nicole. It's really wonderful to get your takeaways from the experience as a whole. And I know your experience has also been enriched by the fact that you have been able to kind of be a member of the community in New York for a few months. So your experience is not limited to the forum itself. But I'm so happy to know that those are your takeaways. And I also really appreciate your feedback about how to stay connected and remain a network as you all now become alumni of this program, to become part of that network that could potentially have a mentorship role. And In fact, I have a kind of a poll question that I will be asking in the WhatsApp group and the follow-up email to all of you about exactly what the best way to stay connected will be. So take that feedback to heart.
Okay, thank you so much, Teresa. I'm looking forward for that. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Nicole. Are there any other reflections or responses that anyone would like to share based on those four areas of reflection? Whether it is, what was your most important lesson or takeaway from the experience? What are the new questions you find you have now as you emerge from the training and the forum and the labs? Or what would you like to do to build upon your experience? What do you want to make your follow-up action? Or what do you see as a helpful improvement that we could make to the training program itself? Yes, Miriam, please go ahead.
Greetings, greetings. I'm so sorry to begin with. I've joined late. We have network issues in Zambia. I'm really sorry. I was not there at the beginning, but what I would love to share is that I've really enjoyed the program. It has been very, very enriching. There's a lot of knowledge that I've gained. I've learned a lot from what is happening in other countries through our sharings. And I really appreciate the introduction that you did when we just started and how everything flowed. And it is a wake up call for me to stand up for the injustices that are being done in different places and different angles of life. Maybe it could be care for the earth, issues to do with human rights, and so on. And the step that I'm making is to enhance the activities, advocacy activities that I do. With the knowledge that I've gained, I would definitely, I would definitely share that with the young ones, the people I'm found with, because I'm involved with women and the youth and children. So it's a wake up call to strengthen the system that we have this side. And also if there are possibilities of us collaborating with the other countries so that at least we can move together and fight for justice and peace in different angles. All in all, I am really grateful and God bless you.
Thanks very much, Sister Miriam, and thank you for your persistence to be with us today, to be able to share those reflections. And just as you feel motivated and encouraged by hearing from others, I think I can safely speak for others with whom I am working in New York to say that we also feel very encouraged and motivated by hearing from you, from all of you. So your efforts to participate, even despite logistical barriers, are much appreciated and very important to us. Thank you for joining as much as you can along the way. I see the hand of Beth Blissman. Go ahead, Beth.
Thank you. Thank you, Teresa. I just wanted to note that I popped into the chat a link. Hopefully, it will be reachable for folks. This year, we tried something new in our community that we had done a small pilot for before, but this year we officially brought an intergenerational delegation to the high-level political forum because we realized that people here in the United States are not educated not only about the Sustainable Development Goals, but about the UN itself. And so I wanted to thank JCoR and many of the other collaborators in New York for your energy and support and collaboration as we brought a delegation of 9 from ages 15 to 65 this year. And ironically, we got featured in the Global Sisters Report Monday Starter a week ago, which was lovely. And I wanted to just do a public thank you to JCoR and Teresa for co-sponsoring our side event, which was focused on this wonderful documentary about some inspiring women in Canada and the US called Tough Old Broads. And we don't have a date and time yet, but we'll probably be doing a virtual program towards the end of this month to show that documentary again via Zoom. I think we can do it via Zoom as we get closer to August 26th, which here in the US is Women's Equality Day. Back in 1920, that's when some women got the right to vote, and the 19th Amendment to the Constitution was signed. We still have a long way to go, both here in the US and globally, but it's a wonderfully inspiring documentary. So if you have interest, please do watch for that coming your way later this month via Zoom. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. And it was exciting to see trying new things to bring more people into this community of engagement. Because when it seems as though the forces of the world are kind of built up against the cause of the common good and human dignity, and they are favoring, those few who already have the most resources and the most power. The only power that's left for us to realize, which is not military power, which is not financial power, is truly the power of numbers, the power of coming together as the many, as the people of goodwill to come together and to exercise our voice as a united group. And so the more that we can share information about the tools that exist, such as the framework of the Sustainable Development Goals, the more we can make those tools known and invite people to come together to use them in an organized way. That is the way that we are able to wield the power that we have that can surpass and overcome those other kinds of worldly power that can be held by too few people and can be manipulated against our cause of the common good. So thank you for helping to build those blocks, to lay that foundation of large scale informed participation. Are there any other comments or reflections or recommendations that anyone would like to share in response to our reflection questions? I will say from my side, I know we have just a small group of us are gathered here today, and that is a smaller number than we have typically had in one room or one session of this program in previous years. And I think one of the reasons for that is that this year we had delegates from countries that often experience more challenges with persistent or reliable electricity access, reliable internet access. And so that has been an obstacle for many of those who have been doing their very best to participate throughout this year. And it does make me happy to know that in places where you cannot rely on having internet at a specific place and time, that at least through this program, because we have recordings of all our sessions, I know that those who are in the room with us now are not the only people who are a part of this group or part of this delegation or part of our community. So I want to offer a special greeting and acknowledgement to anyone who may be watching this as a recording rather than a live conversation, and to say, we know that you're out there, and we are very happy that you are out there, and I look forward to hearing your reflections in your response to our evaluation form and through any other form of communication that is available to you, whether it is an email or a WhatsApp message. We are always open to hearing from you and learning from you at whatever moment you are able to make that connection and send that information to us. Yes, Nicole, I see your hand again. Good question. So for side events, we are still working on editing recordings and uploading, but I believe by the end of next week, we should have everything available. And those recordings will be on the website of JCoR. So they will be on the event page for the event itself. And they will also be on the YouTube channel of JCoR. And so I will put into the chat box the link for our YouTube channel. And and I also want to share that with everyone here because that channel is also a place that you can find the recordings of our SDG lab, which we have now uploaded about 8 of the 20 videos in total that we will have. So we have at least one video in each language now, and we have all 5 of the English videos, but the others are coming. So if you visit the page, come back again and you can find the others. They are coming. hmm Let me get that link now. So the link to the YouTube channel of JCoR is now in the chat box. So if you want, you can open it now or copy it now to save for later. And there you will find a whole playlist for the recordings of the JCoR SDG lab, where all 4 languages recordings will be. And that is the same channel where we also will put recordings of the various side events that we sponsored during the forum. Are there any other comments or questions anyone would like to share? Okay, then I will move to our very last little bit of input for this year's program, which is to share with you how you can continue to participate in the work and to continue to be part of the community that is JCoR after the conclusion of this program. So the first thing is for all of you who have representatives who are at the UN on a regular basis, you can always reach out to those representatives and their offices with information or with questions and to find out what events they are planning or what statements they are writing. And so you can see some images of some of our current and past representatives here. And there is also a link to the individual websites of these different organizations. So you can see what they are posting on their own websites. And you're also welcome to contact our JCoR office, our global office, which is in New York. And so we share with you here. Of course, you already have my contact information from the many emails and WhatsApp messages that have been sent to you as participants in this program. But I also share with you the contact information for JCoR's other global coordinator, who is Katie Garrison, who you may remember as one of our facilitators from 2 of the sessions of the SDG Lab. And then we do have several regions of the world in which we have dedicated regional coordinators for JCoR. And so if there is a coordinator for your country or your region, you are invited to be in contact with that coordinator. So for anyone from India, we have a coordinator for both the West and the South of India. For those in East and Southern Africa, we have coordinators for Tanzania, Uganda, Zimbabwe, and Zambia. And for those in Latin America and the Caribbean, we have a team of 3 who help to coordinate for the entire region. And they can also direct you to specific contact people for whichever sub-region of Latin America you may be coming from. And I hope that you all have made a visit at some time to the website of JCoR. But I want to emphasize that that is a wonderful place full of many different resources and that is constantly updated with new opportunities and new invitations for events that you can join, for statements that you have the opportunity to contribute to, and to hear about the activities and actions that are being taken by members of our community in different parts of the world. So I hope you will save that website, maybe create a bookmark for it so you can visit regularly. And another way to be kept apprised, to be kept informed of our activities as a coalition is to subscribe to our bulletin, which is a very brief newsletter that is sent just once in a month. that offers brief updates on activities that our networks are undertaking in various parts of the world. And that will also alert you to new invitations to submit your own observations or insights or good practices to future initiatives that we are taking at the level of the United Nations, whether that is in the form of statements that we are writing or events that we are organizing, or whether we are building a strategy of how to approach a particular issue or challenge, or if we are trying to craft a message that we will bring to a meeting with a government representative. There are many moments to offer your own experience and your own wisdom. So we hope you will respond to those invitations when we circulate them. And we also have several different social media pages that you are invited to follow or with which you can interact. They include Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And we also provide detailed guides to several of the major UN conferences that happen throughout each year. So you are probably familiar with the guide that I shared on the high-level political forum, but we also create similar guides for several other conferences that happen each year, including the conferences that are dedicated to various kinds of social inequalities, to gender equality, to the rights of Indigenous peoples, and to the work of the UN on climate change. And just as we did for the HLPF, we produce these guides in English, Spanish, French, and Portuguese. So these can be very helpful tools to help you engage with any of these UN conferences from wherever you may be in the world. And we also hope that you might share these guides with other members of your congregation or your local community so that we can continue to increase the community of people of goodwill who are aware of these conferences and who are perhaps even contributing ideas and voices to these proceedings. And one other important point of engagement or contact that I want to invite you all to join is a monthly online gathering that is offered by JCoR on the second Friday of each month, and that is known as the Global Community Hour. And in this hour, which is always, it starts 1 hour earlier than our session today, or all of the sessions that we have had in this program this year. So whatever time you began today, think 1 hour earlier and on the second Friday of each month. And that hour includes some communal prayer, which is dedicated to a particular theme related to justice and peace. And that theme changes each month. And then after the prayer, we hear updates from JCoR members at the UN and from our regional networks around the world. And then we offer time for sharing of concerns, good practices, and news from any individual members of the network who wish to share something that is happening, whether good or bad, in their part of the world. And so that is a meeting that is open to all of you. If you are ever available at that time on the second Friday of the month, we hope you will join us. Okay, before I proceed to that question, I just want to pause and ask if there are any questions related to all of those opportunities to engage and interact and be part of the JCoR community. Did anyone have any questions about any of that? Okay. See no questions, so we will move on. Now, I'm putting this question here on the board, but since there are not so many of us in the room right now, I will actually take this poll in our WhatsApp group for this delegation rather than taking it now. But just to let you know that we do intend to preserve some kind of means for you to continue to be part of a JCoR WhatsApp group, even though this program is concluding. And so we are looking at currently two different ways of organizing those groups, particularly for those of you who are not coming from a region where we have a regional coordinator and a pre-existing WhatsApp group for that region. There are many of you coming from other countries of the world where we do not yet have a JCoR coordinator and group. And we want to organize all of those other people into some kind of WhatsApp group. And so we are looking at two different ways. One would be a global group that is organized by what language you speak. And the other approach would be to organize groups by kind of whole regions of the world, recognizing that within each region, there may be people who are speaking different languages. But we also know that now we have a lot of technology available that allows us to readily translate even someone writes something in a language we do not know. So recognizing that opportunity, maybe it's not such a big barrier if we have a WhatsApp group in which people are speaking multiple different languages. So I will put that poll into our WhatsApp group for this HLPF delegation. So we will collect responses there to help guide which way we proceed. But I do want to assure you all that you will have the option to continue to be in a WhatsApp group with other JCoR members, so that you can continue to receive reminders and invitations via that communication channel. So some quick reminders before we part ways about what to do after this call. If you did not already complete the evaluation form that we worked on together earlier in this call, we ask that you please do so by the 18th of August. And if you have not already seen any of our JCoR SDG labs, we invite you to visit our YouTube channel or our website to see the recordings of those sessions, and then perhaps to share those same recordings with other members of your community. And we invite you to host some kind of sharing or informational session with members of your congregation to share what you have learned as a participant in this program, as a delegate to the HLPF. Other ideas for follow-up action that you might like to take would be to continue engaging with the SDGs. You might like to continue communicating with the civil society network that is monitoring SDGs in your country. Or if you have not yet been able to communicate with them, you might like to keep attempting to make that connection. You might also like to continue communicating with your representatives at the UN in order to share your experiences and your concerns on which they are working all the time as part of their work, their ministry at the United Nations. And of course, a quick recap of all of the different ways to engage with JCoR in an ongoing basis that I just mentioned a moment ago, including our newsletter, joining our global community hour, engaging in our WhatsApp groups, and very importantly, inviting and encouraging other members of your congregation or your organization to also engage with JCoR via any of the methods or approaches above. And then finally, just one quick word of proverbial inspiration that we use in many settings in our JCoR organizing because it feels very appropriate for our approach to this work as coalition is to say, when spider webs unite, they can tie up a lion. And I emphasize that point as we part ways in this program because I want to remind us all that while it may feel as though the work before us to change systems is insurmountable and that the forces that seem to be working against us feel very strong. And at the same time, when we come together, we do wield tremendous power. And so our unity and our ongoing work of coming together and being organized is one of the most essential components of building justice and peace in our world. And it is one of the actions that is almost entirely in our power and in our control to continue to come together, to continue to build community, to do the work of being united and organized. And if we can do that work, we will have one of the most important steps in achieving the change that we wish to see and in establishing the world as we know it ought to be. So please, I hope you will emerge from this program with a sense that it is in your power to be part of a community. It is in your power to make an effort to work alongside others and share what you know and to listen to what they know. And if we take advantage of that power, that opportunity, we will accomplish more than we may have ever thought possible. So please keep coming together, keep engaging with us, keep being part of the community, and we will make great strides together. And finally, a word of thanks again to all of you for your time, for your effort, for your willingness to stretch yourselves and try new methods of communicating and engaging. And your presence makes all of this work possible and worthwhile. And I also want to give a word of deep gratitude to our team of interpreters, Anna and Vivian and Gabriella, who have been with us throughout this entire journey from January through the SDG labs and to this final session today. They have done amazing work and been extremely supportive to us and made it possible for us to have a community that is global. And so we are very grateful for their gifts and for their willingness to share them with us over such a long period of time. You have been a great support, and we are most grateful. So thank you to our interpretation team. And that is the last that I have to say and to share with all of you. But once again, thank you. And I look forward to continuing our relationship and our work together via all of those avenues that we have already discussed and described today. So please keep coming back, keep connecting, and our work continues. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, Teresa.